It is 1 o'clock, so I will call the meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the City Council acting as the Housing Authority Board. It is Tuesday, November 21st, 2023, and it is 1 p.m. And I will start by asking Assistant City Attorney Colin Kirkpatrick to please lead us in the flag salute.
Thank you. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and would City Clerk Olivia please take the roll call?
Sure. Councilmember Mulatto,
Present.
Councilmember Marker,
Here.
Mayor Pro Temp Weil,
Here.
Mayor Downs.
I'm here.
Everybody's present.
Okay, thank you. All right, it's time for public comments on this agenda. We are not going to do non-agenda public comments today because this is a special meeting. There is only one item for discussion on the action calendar. We will read the staff report, and then after doing so, we will have an opportunity for the public to make comment on the action calendar at that time. So, Isaiah, who's starting with the staff report? Is it you?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Very quickly, thank you for the special meeting. There is some urgency to the item that we are going to be discussing today with you, and Marcus Alamon, our housing manager, will be giving the staff report, but I thought I'd just kind of add my comments. And as we've all seen, really over the last few years, there's been a lot of discussion around affordable housing, and the city and this council has acted in a manner that demonstrates the importance of affordable housing within our community. And in the good old days when we had redevelopment agencies, we were much more involved because we had a dedicated funding stream that we would use to actually subsidize and build affordable housing. The state took that away. And so the world that we operate in now is the state has said, all right, local government, your job is to provide the opportunity, the zoning, and our job is to fund it. And so that's kind of the role that we play now. So what we're going to talk to you about is, as you're well aware of, we issued an RFQ, and we were looking for some interested developers on a 10-acre parcel up by our dog park. And after going through that process, one of the respondents to that RFQ notified the city that the state had just announced that they were changing a critical area of funding, basically these maps that identify resource areas. And currently the dog park site is a high resource area according to those maps. Well, the new draft that came out in late October changes that to a moderate level. And we can look at that and say, well, high to moderate can't be that big of a deal. It is a very big deal. And so the position that the city's in, being the landowner here, is essentially it is highly likely that if we wait until the moderate, ranking comes in, these projects likely won't get funded, which means there will be no affordable housing development here because of a lack of funding because of this change in designation. So it's not a minor change, it is a very severe change. And so in meeting with the subcommittee that was involved with the RFQ process, that's what led us to this meeting today. And so really the decision that we're looking at boils down to, a rather simple one. Being that we are the landowner, if we give a developer site control, that will lock in that high ranking, that high designation on these maps for 7 years, which will make a huge difference in their ability to go after funding and actually potentially be able to see some affordable units develop within our city. And so as the landowner and really as the city, in this area, it really comes down to if we do nothing, you won't see affordable housing develop here. So kind of what we're asking you to do today at a very high level is let's give this the best chance it has to get funded. And in order to do that, we need to, talk about getting developers site control before the end of the calendar year, before these maps and this designation changes. And so, from a city standpoint and a landowner standpoint, the ball's kind of in our court. So if we slow play and we do nothing, at the end of the day, the result would be pretty detrimental to developers' ability to get funding. And so really kind of at the staff level and with the subcommittee, what we discussed is, hey, the city's committed to affordable housing. We were one of the first cities in the valley to get our housing element certified. We have a strong history when it comes to affordable housing, and we're in a unique position to be able to do something about this, which is just simply act quickly and get hopefully some good developers on board with us and actually give this site the best possibility it has to receive that funding. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marcus. Marcus, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Honorable Chair Downs, Housing Authority Board, and City staff. On August 28, 2023, the Rancho Mirage Housing Authority released a request for qualifications for the development of at least 200 multifamily affordable housing units on a 10-acre parcel of land on Housing Element Inventory Site B. Site B is an approximately 53.76-acre parcel of land zoned for 28 plus minus acres of parkland and 25 plus minus acres of high-density residential with an affordable housing overlay. This site was selected for the RFQ due to its California Tax Credit Allocation Committee and California Department of Housing and Community Development's high resource designation, which makes it competitive in terms of scoring for critical state funding. The deadline for RFQ submission was October 27, 2023. The Housing Authority received 6 responses for review. During the review process of the RFQ submissions, City staff was made aware that the 2024 CTCAC and HCD draft opportunity maps were made available in late October, and that the designation for various sites throughout the city and Coachella Valley would be changed from high resource to moderate resource designations. This change in designation strongly impacts the potential for state funding sources, which makes affordable housing development for this site virtually impossible as of January 1st, 2024. To help ensure the development of affordable housing, city staff determined that developing the entire 25 plus minus acres and entering into disposition and development agreements to lock in the high resource designation will give the Housing Authority and selected respondents the greatest opportunity for development of affordable housing. The city and Housing Authority is committed to providing the opportunity of affordable housing development throughout the city. City staff recommends that the Housing Authority Board authorize staff and the General Counsel to negotiate draft disposition and development agreements with accompanying deeds for the purpose of establishing site control for the development of affordable housing with the Pacific Companies, National Core and USA Properties, and Blue Companies for future consideration by the Housing Authority Board before the end of the calendar year. This concludes my presentation. I am available for any questions you may have. Also joining us today are representatives from the Pacific Companies, National Core and USA Properties, and Blue Companies, as well as the city's housing element implementation consultant, Nicole Chris from Terra Nova Planning and Research.
Thank you, Marcus. And I'll ask the city clerk to please conduct public comment on this item.
We have 2 speaker cards. First up, John Bigley. There'll be a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker.
Sounds good. Good afternoon. My name is John Bigley with Blue Companies. Thanks for your time to review this topic today. We were formerly known as Urban Housing Communities. We're just rebranding as we grow and expand and have our other family members join. My nieces and nephews and my kids joined the company recently, so taking a little bit of a new direction. Having said that, I just want to touch on this high resource map that just recently changed and how that affects things. So anytime you submit a project, pretty much you got to be scoring 100% of the points, or you're not going to be as competitive. So the way these deals get funded is a couple different ways. One is bonds and tax credits. The other one is 9% tax credits only. And then you have HCD funding. So on the bond side of things, you lose a point if you're not in a high resource area. You also, and if you are in a high resource area, you get that point, plus you get a boost to your tiebreaker. After 50% of the bonds are expended for that geographic area, that point does go away, but you still get the boost in the tiebreaker. So it reduces your chances of competing with other projects in the geographic area, which encompasses, all Riverside County and San Bernardino County. On a 9% deal, you automatically get 8 amenity points for scoring purposes, which is huge if they decide to change the rules. Plus the fact you get a boost to your tiebreaker. The tiebreaker is where really everything comes down to the tiebreaker. So the more you can enhance that, the much better opportunity to score. On the HCD side of things, which is you get funding through the multifamily housing program funds, or there's a veterans program, and so on and so forth, you get 5 points if you're in a high resource area. So if you lose that, you're just less competitive, and all these programs are always oversubscribed. So it is kind of a big change, the fact that this loses the high density or the high resource designation. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have. And just to note, our most recent project that we did was Veterans Village of Cathedral City that we opened about a year ago. You may have heard about that. And if anybody ever wants to take a tour of it to see what we're doing there, let me know and we'll set that up. But I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Mayor, may I, John, one moment. Regarding your Cathedral City development, what is the nature of your financing on that project?
Yeah, so that was a 9% tax credit deal with VHHP money, which is Veterans Homeless Housing Prevention. Plus, we also received 53 VASH vouchers through the county. So that one is designated, and I appreciate you asking that question because this is kind of how we work with cities. And just to note, the developers you have here are very good. So they do a very good product as well. And we all access the similar resources. But that city had this piece of property and they said, hey, we got this piece of property, we really want to do affordable housing. What do you think we can do with this property? And we said, well, there's a recent program out called Veterans Homeless Housing Prevention through HCD. You're right next to the Salvation Army that has programs for veterans. So I think we should go after that resource to put this deal together. So we have HCD funding, we have 9% tax credits, we have a mortgage, and we have VASH vouchers, and we have city funding. We have county funding of $1 million. So it takes a lot of different layers to make these work. But the other thing that it's important to know when you go to look for other resources to be able to fund the development, you really need to understand what you're signing up for. HCD is notoriously pretty difficult, and there's a lot of red tape involved with that. And so you do give up quite a bit of control when you go, and get HCD funding. But a lot of cities, that's what they have to do in order to make it work. So did that answer the question?
Yeah. In this project in Rancho Mirage, do you anticipate trying to get funding from those same resources?
Most likely, yes. Well, you're definitely going to do bonds and tax credits or 9% tax credit deal if you phase it. But really to plug the gap, you're probably going to have to go after HCD funding as well. But again, that's something. The way we would look at it is, we would sit down with your housing folks and say, tell us really what you want to do, and then we're going to tell you what resources are available out there to make that happen, and what's attached to those resources that we're going to go after. So you kind of know going in, yeah, we want to do that or we don't want to do that, and we want to look at a different way to fund it. But most likely you're going to go after those funding sources. And they are competitive, they're always oversubscribed. So you want to maximize the points. A lot of times people go, oh, well, like on the 4, you only lose 1 point. Well, 1 point, you lose the deal. because most of the time when you put a deal in, it's going to score 100% of the points. So if you're competing, if I'm in a moderate resource area, I don't get the point, and I'm competing against people that will be submitting that will get that point.
Well, your situation's a little unique because of the veterans aspect. And
in Cathedral City? Yeah.
in Cathedral City.
Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't fit here, that particular project. But that one, I can't remember if we were in a high resource area at that time or not. But the VHHP funding wasn't quite as competitive when we got that.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
John, one more question. So I'm
Yes.
assuming that you agree with our staff report that if this designation changes to moderate, this opportunity to fund this project in Rancho Mirage is gone. Is that correct in your opinion?
And it's not 100% gone, but it's much more difficult.
Got it.
Much more difficult.
Thank you, John. Yep. Olivia?
Thank
The
you.
next speaker is Brad Anderson.
Good afternoon, Brad Anderson, City of Rancho Mirage. I just became aware of this, just like most of the people in the Rancho Mirage. I don't think this is a rush. I don't really think this is a special meeting type issue. The land designation that was changed in this area that we're talking about was purposely done. There was, a lot advance notice of this type of arrangement, and you put out, you don't need to rush on this. And yes, this project under the city manager said we won't have any affordable housing. I will come back at a later meeting and describe what affordable housing is for everybody, but it will take place. But this isn't we don't need to rush into this. We don't need to give over city responsibilities and actions to outside parties or external companies. And that's it, I guess. And redevelopment, I'm glad it's gone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any?
Comments?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak and did not get a chance to fill out a card? Looks like we're done. You can just go up to the podium. That's fine.
Good afternoon, everyone. Darren Barbarian, the Pacific Companies. I want to echo what Mr. Bigley said and exactly what staff is saying. Losing that point puts the city in a tough position for affordable housing. Like he said, having the full point score, it's a very, very oversubscribed program. It would do a massive disservice to the city to not garner that point while it's here. And it locks it in for 7 years. You have a DDA with stipulations, timelines, all the securities that the cities need in order to just keep that. So I just wanted to voice my opinion. I 100% agree, and it's something of very big importance. And I'm here to answer any questions as well.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Is that the last?
Yes, that's the last one.
Okay, let's go to council comments. Meg?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Lynn?
Yes, please. Thank you all for being here today. I realize it's Thanksgiving week, and we appreciate the fact that you saw the urgency as we did to schedule this meeting. The city has made, as the city manager has stated, a significant commitment to affordable housing and who it involves, and that's residents of our city. We see the potential of losing that opportunity. We value our citizens. We value the commitment and the promise that we made. And we feel very privileged to have this opportunity. And even though a short notice, a little advance notice that the state is redirecting. So thank you again for being here, and hopefully we can be successful with our efforts. And thank you for all the work that you're doing to make this happen.
Mayor Pro Tem Weil.
Thank you, Mayor. I will echo the comments that have been made by both the developers as well as my colleagues. There is no question as to the necessity of the urgency of this type of a meeting as a result of the mandate that has been put out by the state. We have no choice if we want to meet what we feel is one of our primary obligations to our residents, and that's to provide for affordable housing in our community. We're asked about it all the time. What is the city going to do regarding affordable housing? Well, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make every single effort humanly possible to get these projects into a form that's financeable and then approved. And therefore, there was the necessity of having this meeting today and the need to get it approved immediately before January 1st. So thank you, Mayor. I couldn't echo the necessity any stronger.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I too believe that this is a critically important issue that we must face and we must face now. Nicole Christ is in the chamber. Nicole has acted as a counselor to our to our planning department to help us understand the issues. Nicole, would you help us? Would you come to the podium and help us understand a little more about the reason why we must get this done by the end of this calendar year?
I can only echo what's been said. The high resource area designation was a prime consideration when we wrote the housing element for you, because it is, I frankly have not seen a housing project go through the TCAC system as competitive as it is without full points. And the difference between moderate and high resource, particularly in this area, we've always had trouble in the Coachella Valley getting projects funded because the big city was always more competitive than we were. In the last few years, we've finally gotten recognition for projects, and we have projects going in the valley for the first time in many years. And if a project does not garner full points when there are 10 projects ahead of it that are garnering full points, that project will not get funded for years, if at all. And I wish I could tell you why TCAC decided to modify their maps. They have a methodology. It's about as clear as the RENA methodology, which makes it pretty much impossible to understand. That said, losing the high resource designation when we purposely picked sites that were high resource to improve their potential would, and not tying these up, would definitely impact our ability to meet our obligations under RENA. And frankly, since I'm currently dealing with another one of my housing elements that's about to get decertified for a completely different issue, but HCD is actively pursuing cities that are not complying, and we have a method to avoid that risk in this case, and I would encourage the board to consider that in your deliberations.
Thank you, Nicole. Okay, so we originally had asked for a request for quotation on 10 acres of this 25-acre parcel, but when we learned that we were about to lose the designation, the subcommittee, myself and Councilmember Mulatto, realized that we had an issue here, and along with staff, we concluded that we ought to bring to this council a concept of developing not just the 10 acres on that 25-acre portion of the 50-acre site, but that we attempt to find a way to approve affordable housing development on all 25 acres, and we award to 3. That's the reason for this meeting today. Colin, I'm sorry that we're going to ask you to do a lot of work over the next couple of months if this passes, but we're going to have a lot of work to do. There is no way around this. If we don't get this done, we have a problem in meeting that which the Housing and Community Development Agency in the state of California requires that we do over the next 8-year cycle of our housing element, which is to entitle 1,750 affordable housing units. And we have a unique opportunity to do that right now. We can get it done. It'll be a lot of work. We've got great staff. We can get it done, and we need to try. So with that, I will ask for, first, does anyone have any other comments they want to make? And if not, I'll ask for a motion.
I would like to just make one additional comment. I left out our business community in my earlier comments. The business community has been pleading with the city the importance for their employees and their workforce to have affordable housing here in Rancho Mirage, the hotels, the restaurants, Eisenhower Medical Center, it goes on and on. This will provide a tremendous relief to the community, and this is just one portion of a very solid plan, and we're hoping that we can provide that relief. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. City Manager, I think you have a couple of comments to make as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to also maybe clarify that, the direction that is being considered today by the council isn't a final approval. It's just a formal direction to staff to get this in motion to see if we can get it done before the end of the year. Final approval would be brought back to the council in the form of a public hearing at a regular council meeting in December. So this is not by any means final approval. This is just more of an endorsement of the concept with the direction to staff to start working to see if we can get this done before the end of the year. And, like anything, there are some other agencies that we're relying on. HCD is one of them. So we can do everything right on our end, and at the end of the day, we're going to give it our best shot to get this done, but we do have to rely on some other agencies. So although we'll do everything we can, it's still that tight that, we can't guarantee that it can get done. But I think, one of the things that, you mentioned at the subcommittee level was, we had some great responses to that RFQ, and really kind of looking on the bright side of things. Now we get to, interact with 3 of them instead of 1 of them. But at the end of the day, looking at this 25 acres and how important that was within the scope of our housing element and our affordable housing picture, none of these units are planned to be age restricted. It's all multifamily housing. And really, when you look at, Marcus, can we bring up the map, or Jason, can we bring up the map? When we look at this parcel, about half of it will be parkland, and then the other half will be the affordable housing. So the 3 companies that we identified within the recommendation, those were the top 3 ranking companies. And I'll wait for the map.
And while we're waiting for that, one important issue is that what this does is it allows us to make sure that we lock in the right designation prior to the end of this year. That's what we're doing. That's what we're moving on today.
Yep. So what these go ahead and leave, Olivia. You got to turn your screen off so that IT can. There we go. So. What these disposition and development agreements look like is, and that's how we establish site control, is, we agree to certain terms, right? We agree that this is going to be multifamily affordable housing. They uphold their end of the deal, and then we'll uphold our end of the deal. But essentially, as we look at this site up by our dog park, we have parcel 1 at the top. That's intended to go to Pacific companies. The 5-acre parcel in the middle, that's identified as parcel 3. That's for National Core USA Properties. And then the 10-acre at the bottom, that's identified as parcel 2. That's for blue companies. And again, each one of these companies submitted a proposal with their concepts that was reviewed, and essentially what comes back to the council and what establishes this high ranking for the 7-year period is they get site control via these disposition and development agreements that says, here's what we're going to do as the developer and here's what we're going to do at the city, all for the purpose of establishing and trying to build affordable housing within our community. So this is by no means the final say-so. This is just the general direction to get going.
Thank you, Isaiah. Okay, if there are any other questions from council, please ask. Otherwise, may I have a motion?
I'll make the motion that the Housing Authority Board authorize staff and the General Counsel to negotiate draft disposition and development agreements with accompanying deeds for the purpose of establishing site control for the development of affordable housing with the Pacific Companies, National Core, and USA Properties, and Blue Companies for future consideration by the Housing Authority Board before the end of the calendar year.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Okay, that ends our agenda for the day. This meeting is adjourned.